that are new to the advocacy side of NAPS, but you need to learn some of the basics. Sometimes you get caught up and it's really embarrassing for those of us that are experienced. We get into the process of trying to represent somebody and we find out in the middle of a discussion that there's pre-existing discipline we didn't know that it was based on, or there's a lot of history, or they're not a member. That's kind of embarrassing as well. Craig's going to cover some of the basics on that, and we'll see how much time we have. He's going to go into some other things that might make our jobs easier, such as employee accountability and attendance. I would give a long extended invitation out to the gentleman, but everybody knows Craig doing a bang-up job, better than the last guy. So if you would please welcome Craig Johnson.
The fabric's probably soundproof.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
And it's still morning?
Yeah.
Time flies. I'm going to try to go through this. Larry asked me to present a little something on 650. If I go a little fast, ask me to slow down. I got a flight I got to catch at 12:15. Wisconsin has their state convention this weekend as well. So I gotta try to get to there. So bear with me a second. Now when you get that chain back,
You know, the custom killer just doesn't want
she's got jokes. All right, as you can see, 650 is an issue, and Brian, when he was Central Region, he put this presentation together, and I'm going to try to go through it just to reiterate some information of importance to everyone, because a lot of times we struggle with the process. And you kind of heard Simon talk about policy and process, and a lot of times we just go through as what we think is the procedure of what to do, and we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. But a lot of times, you as a NAPS rep or local president, you get that call from somebody, what's the first thing that you need to do? Well, you need to verify, as Larry was talking to at the beginning, are they a NAPS member or not? And the reason that's important is because we're not necessarily considered a union. We're considered an organization. And the reason is because if they're not a dues-paying member, you want to first do what? Know that they're not a dues-paying member, and then you want to try to sign them up as a member. Now, a lot of times on using the defense funds and whatnot, for our branch and most, you have to be a member in good standing in 90 days first. But you want to make sure that that person is a member. So if you don't, I know that headquarters sends out, Larry gets it, I get it, we send it out as the DCO to the different offices of the branch to let you know who is a member of good standing in your particular branch or area. Then you want to gather some other information. It's important that you get the name, address, phone number, contact, title, and the person where they work, who you're talking to. The reason is unfortunately, I'm not the only Craig Johnson in the Mid-American District. And you think you're representing this Craig Johnson, and it's another Craig Johnson, and you got the wrong person that you're trying to get back into contact with. Down here, you see there's the thing, members sign request for representation. And a lot of individuals don't actually know, but there's a form that you should be having your members sign before you proceed with representing them. Reason is it protects your branch from different legal ramifications. But if you go on to the naps.org website, there is a form that says request for representation and release form. And the form says, I, Craig Johnson, a dues-paid member in good standing with the National Association of Postal Supervisors, Branch 36, request disciplinary representation from Branch 36 on the date I was issued what type of corrective action was the individual issued. Then I understand that NAPS, Branch 36, reserves the right to provide representation. I also understand that Branch 36 and their elected officers, non-members, are not paid employees of the NAPS organization, nor are they legally bound to provide representation. I further understand that NAPS Branch 36 and its officers are not lawyers or legal advisors, and I will not hold them legally or financially responsible for the results that transpire from the disciplinary case. I agree to cooperate fully with my NAPS representative by providing him or her with factual written statements and documentation to support my disciplinary appeal. If during my disciplinary appeal process, I provide my NAPS representative or any U.S. official with written false documentation or statements, NAPS Branch 36 may exercise the right to withdraw their representation. My request for representation is voluntary and is void of duress. I reserve the right and may verbally or written at any time during my appeal process withdraw from NAPS Branch 36 representation. And like I say, that form itself, if you don't have that somewhere for your particular branch, I would suggest that you get those copies. Like I said, if you go onto the NAPS.org website, and that's just basically kind of going through that to fill that out. But if you go there, print that form out, and you would want to make sure that person signs that, because that takes away any legal ramifications to the organization. But then next you want to get a copy of what the discipline is. A lot of times somebody's going to call you and say, oh, they removing me, they're going to put me in for removal. And you start out charging, thinking somebody's getting ready to get removed, and you find out all they got is a letter of warning. So you want to make sure, but now you want to also get any copies of live discipline. The reason you want to try to check with your labor office and get that, a lot of times, what do people tell you? I don't have nothing. Never been written up, I don't have nothing on file, and what has happened? Somebody issued some discipline, and they told you what? Don't worry, I'm not going to put that in your file, we're just going to put that in the drawer, we're going to set that to the side, and you contact labor, or you go look under your OPF file, and you got some live discipline on there. The reason is because you want to find out if somebody's getting a removal notice, did they get a letter of warning? Do they have a 7-day, 14-day? Or what are the ramifications of that corrective? Then you want to get a written statement. And the reason for the written statement is because you need to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how. We've heard that was an accident or something you're investigating. You need that information. The reason is I'm going based on what you told me, and I'm going to talk to somebody to represent you on your behalf. And now later on I come back, your facts aren't the same as your written statement. So if I have that in writing, it makes it a little bit easier. And then you want to begin to prepare your evidence package. And in preparing that package, you will review the materials. It's simply not enough. What happened? When did it happen? Why did it happen? Okay, Craig created some tax ring errors. When did he do it? Okay, you look at the errors. Okay, is it Craig's ID on there? He's the one who did it. Because it might not have been Craig. Could have been somebody else. Now, I hope most of you aren't, and you shouldn't be, sharing your log on. That's a big no-no. I know it's something, we were at an Illinois State Convention, and some supervisors still put their password under the planner at the computer. So if Craig is gone and I need to do something, oh, what's Craig's password? And you log in and you take care of something. That is a no-no. You should avoid that. But then you want to request other evidence to assist you. Okay, it was tax errors. When did it happen? Why did it happen? Who else was there? Who else might have been involved? Or you have some 1260s or something available. And then you want to get any evidence that they're providing from you. You need to put anything in writing. A lot of times we have gotten a little lazy in the modern era. We pick up the phone, we call somebody, hey, I need a copy of the tax return. And you don't get it, and you're still waiting, and that person's got 10 days, you got to get that appeal filed. And now you're sitting there slowing down the process, so you have to be prepared to move forward and get any statements that you need. You're prepared, you want to understand the charges, state the understanding of specifics, anything that might be missing in that who, what, where, when, why, and how. Could have said, hey, it happened on the 28th, Well, I got a lease slip here, Craig was off on the 20th. Could have been Craig. So you want to make sure that you have all of the specific dates, time, location. It happened at the Berry Woods station. Well, Craig works at the South True station. So how did it happen at Craig at that station? So get all the particulars. And then you want to get verification from the ELM. What I have is a hard copy of the ELM. Of course, you can go on and print and review it when you need it. But I tell people, sometimes it's just good to have some hard stuff to refer back to. And like I say, we got into a modern era where everybody's, just go look it up, I'll find it. And you want to make sure what the violation is saying is an actual violation in accordance to what the ELM was saying that is a violation. Admit any, deny any of the charges, and then discuss the Douglas factors. Because they should, anytime you get there, get a letter of decision and give you the Douglas factors, so you want to make sure. Now, there are 12 Douglas factors that are expressed and acknowledged, and the first, of course, is the nature, the seriousness of the offense, and its relation to the employee's duties, positions, responsibilities, and whether it was intentional or inadvertent. You want to be trying to argue against the fact, okay, Craig committed a tax fraud. Error. Was it intentional? In the scope of his duties and responsibility, Craig doesn't do that. Craig hasn't been trained. He just did this one time. You want to try to argue against that mitigating fact. Employee's job level, type. You know, if it's something dealing with an audit, and here it is, I'm the supervisor, and it may be something the manager should be responsible for. I don't have the expertise, knowledge. Somebody's threw me out there to do it, and now I get in a position. You may want to try to argue that point to belabor the fact that the person and the employee's past disciplinary record again is important. What's his record? He's a 20-year employee, never had corrective action. You want to argue that point to try to show that this employee is not an employee who's had past issues. The employee's past work record, length of service, ability to get along, dependable, those factors you want to be able to include. The effect of the offense upon the employee's ability to perform this level and the effects upon the supervisor's confidence in the employee's ability to perform. So many times you hear the man say, oh, he's a great employee, he does a great job, he does this, he's this, he's that. He does everything but walks on water, but I still gave him a letter of warning. So you want to be able to use and argue that fact. And the consistency of the penalty imposed. A lot of times this is important. I know I talked about it at headquarters, and they haven't been able to get to looking into it yet, but you at your local branch levels should be keeping your disciplinary records that are being imposed in cases that you're handling, so that if Craig had a tax error and nobody did anything, and now nobody else got one and nothing happened, and all of a sudden we get over here and somebody else gets corrective action, well, why are you not dealing with everybody the same people? So you want to make sure that you're looking at that. And then consistency, like I say, with the table, the notoriety of the offense and impact on the reputation of the, yes, Brian.
Yeah, just as an FYI, on number 7, the Douglas factors, the Postal Service doesn't have a table of penalties. That's for other federal agencies, but it's part of the Douglas factors. So we would have the consistency of the penalty with applicable agency table of penalties. We don't have that. So, but I just wanted to clarify.
Number 9, the clarity for which the employee was notified, put on notice of rules violated in committing the offense and had been warned about the conduct in question. A lot of times we unfortunately, like we do with our craft employees, we don't document and we don't communicate, as you heard Simon talk about earlier. The importance of communicating and documenting is great. Make sure that you fill out a 1260, that you complete, do whatever you have to, and do it the correct way, but you need to be documenting the instructions that you're giving to your superiors or your subordinates that supervise. The potential for employees' rehabilitation. Well, if you stole something from the post office, kind of rehabilitate, it's a little hard to rehabilitate that. If you went into the till and you should have went into the till. Some things like tax errors or fail to follow instructions, and I tell people a lot of times, the instruction is nobody out after 6. The instruction wasn't move them in before 6 o'clock just to show us nobody out after 6. The instruction is trying to get the employees back to the office. But if you don't get them back, it's very hard for somebody to get fired because the carrier made it back after 6, and that's what you reported. Now, if it was something that you need to deal with on a performance issue, then you need to deal with the employee and the performance issue and not look to dealing with changing and falsifying clock rings just to meet the satisfaction of the goal that was set. That was maybe not a realistic expectation. And then mitigating circumstances surrounding an offense such as unusual job tension, personal problems, mental impairment, harassment, bad faith, malice, provocation on the part of others involved in this matter. And last but not least, the adequacy and effectiveness of alternative sanctions to deter such conduct in the future by the employees. Those are your Douglas factors. So in comparing the written appeal, you want to address any medical or physical emotions. You want to refute charges with evidence, documents, and statements. If it's something that's contradictory to what the ELM said, this is where you want to make sure that you're putting that information together and putting it in there. And don't raise specific settlements in an appeal. You know, Brian and I, we kind of talk about this a lot of times. If they're saying, hey, you know, we're going to give you a 14-day, don't go in there and say, well, you know, can we look at reducing that to a 7-day? You can't give yourself nothing to work with. There's nowhere to fall in there. Because they're probably going to say, okay, we'll go for 7 days. But you want to leave that open so that you have a discussion all the way to a 14-day to try to get something lower than a 14-day for the employee. And you want to request to rescind the district, trying to get that out of the employee's file. Letters of warning, emergency placements, non-news, other matters that are not covered, write up written appeal to the manager, issue 10 days of receipt of the action, and then you discuss with the issuing manager the appeal and look for a resolution. After the step A decision, there's a submit your written appeal to the next higher level for your step B, include employee information and basis for the appeal. Offer a written step B decision, request 650, review within 15 days of step B, and direct the written appeal to the manager of HR. And understand at this point, we're still the moving part. So you got to keep those timelines and keep everything moving because time is going against the essence of the employee that you're representing. So you respond in writing or a person to decide in the next 10 days, review, direct to the manager HR. The option is 650 mediation if you can get it, and then MSPP. So you want to try to keep those. I know after I'm coming up, Jack Berry is here with us. He's going to get into probably some of this a little more extensively to help you with the process on MSP and your 650 mediation process. Okay. Oh, there's some questions, but before I get to questions, and what I want people to understand, this process is the same process. I know we've heard people talk about involuntary reassignments. We talk about schedule change. You still file a 650 appeal to the person in charge. So if I'm a supervisor, customer service, they changed and moved my shift. They moved me to a different station. I file a 650 appeal to the supervisor's manager. That's the 650 process. Now, the manager says, nope, Craig's going from station A to station B, doesn't render you a favorable decision. Now you file an appeal to the manager's boss, which would be the MCSO postmaster. If, in fact, they don't agree, then we push the appeal up to get it to the area to get you resolved. But most people complain and don't want to be the one to sit out there and say, well, it's happening, but don't mention my name. You know, it's kind of hard to represent you in an appeal or a problem when I can't go back as we were talking and determine who, what, where, when, why, and how is. So if you want to get an issue resolved. The 650 process is the process to resolve it, but you have to give the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and then move through the chain and get it up. We were dealing on the telecom in Gary, Indiana, and it was brought out that in the last 5-6 years, 8-10 people been involuntary reassigned and all this corrective action. And we got on the telecom with labor and the area manager for Great Lakes, and we found out only 2 cases have ever been formally appealed. Because the NAPS person who was representing them, all they were doing was sending emails to the person's boss saying, okay, you took Craig out of his job, when you gonna move Craig back? They kept sending emails, no one responded. No, follow the 650 process, file a written appeal, then move that appeal up. And then when you do that and you send it up, send me a copy. Because Edmund does a great job of that. He'll send something and push it up. And when I get a copy, that way I know, because my job as the region VP is to send it and get it to NAPS headquarters so that they can try to get that on the next consultator to get an answer and get some resolved. So we want to make sure we follow that process or push it up. Any questions on the 650 process? Any questions? Okay.
Hey, Craig?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes, go ahead, Warren.
So I guess this is a new revelation to me that involuntary reassignments are part of 650?
Well, it's the appeal process. It's the appeal process. You have to file an appeal. So anytime, it doesn't matter whether it's involuntary, doesn't matter whether you're working a different shift, or it doesn't matter if I have an issue as a supervisor or a manager. Anytime I have any issue, I need to file a written appeal to my immediate supervisor or boss to tell them what my issue or complaint. But what most of us do, we pick up the phone and say, Craig, look, I'm on wrong shift, wrong tour. We keep talking and complaining, but if there's nothing ever written formally, you haven't filed a complaint or appeal.
So it's you're just documenting it.
That is correct. But see, the reason when Simon is saying push it up to him, he has to know that you handled it and addressed it at the local level first. It's just like me. I can't, even though I know Simon, I technically can't, you call me as involuntary in Wichita, I can't just pick up the phone and say, hey Simon, Juan has been involuntarily reassigned, because we have to give the local leadership a chance to fix or address the issue first. And if now it's a violation, and we push it up to them, because when your boss doesn't address it, that's what the down the hole letter is for. Did they call you in? Did they tell you? Did they give you the expected duration? Did they tell you this is only temporary? Did they tell you, hey, Craig's gonna be out sick for a month, so I need to move you from the opening to the closing supervisor, and this is why I'm moving. All of those things should be taking place, and if it's not, that's when you should be filing a 650 appeal to your boss. And then that's the process. Your boss either says yea or nay, now you go to their boss. If they say yea or nay, now you push it up. And that's what the pushing up process is. Good question. Anybody else have any other questions on that? All right. The other thing that Brian wanted me to talk about is accountability. And, you know, the big argument I tell people is, whose job is it anyway? Is it your job? Is it my job? Doesn't matter whether you are the manager of HR or Human Services, or you're a station manager, SDO, and I tell my supervisors, they say, man, I just don't have enough time. I said, well, what are you talking about? Well, I got to fix these tax errors, I got to fix these CPMS errors, I got these Davis errors, and I'm like, but whose job is it to do all these things? It's the employee. Well, the easiest thing for us to say, well, here's a page of clock ring errors tonight. I got 10 of them. Oh, they didn't move to the street. Oh, they didn't eat tea. We fix it. But then tomorrow you do what? It's 10 more people. Oh, you fix it. The workload is not there. You've allowed the workload to invade into your atmosphere. Because if I today hold you accountable and say, Craig, look, hit the clock wrong. Tomorrow I expect you to hit the clock this way and hit it correctly from now on. So now the next day and the next day, if Craig hits it wrong, I call Craig in and deal with Craig, give Craig corrective action. What does that do? It now eliminates me sitting there at night fixing clock ring errors. But it also does the same whether it's Davis, I didn't put in the right mileage. Tell people, it doesn't matter if you put it on your hand, piece of paper, you put it in your head, you remember, you got one thing to do, come back in and punch in the correct mileage. But if you're at a bigger unit, you got a lot of vehicles, a lot of routes, and the day you come in, at my station, we got 76 routes, and 50 people decide, I ain't got time to put my mileage in today. Now the supervisor's trying to work out and figure that out. That's not your workload. So you got to figure out whose job is it and why are they doing it. But it goes back to the communication and documentation. You set the expectation, you communicate the expectation to the employee, and then you document that you communicated the expectation to the employee. So after I've documented, communicated, I may have to train, now I take corrective action to eliminate the problem or the situation. What do you need to do? How do you need to do it? Those are all factors of responsibility that you shift to the employee and deal with the employee. Is it going to be a little more working time consuming in the beginning? Yeah, let's face it. You know, if you got a lot of employees and you're sitting here trying to figure out how you're going to get them from A to B, it didn't happen overnight because we slowly let people get away with certain issues. It's going to take time to bring them back into the fold. But if you start with one issue and keep moving forward and correcting the issue of behavior, and I use the analogy, my postmaster uses it to make some good point. He says, how many carriers do you ever see come in without their uniform on? Do any of you have carriers that report without their uniform? Those who are in customer service. You know why you know? Because they know you're going to send them home. So they know I at least got to be in my uniform to work and get paid. But now when I get to work, if I hit the clock right, if I get out the office right, who cares? I'm on the clock, I'm getting paid. But you have to set that same expectation that you come to work ready to work, that while you're here, you do the right stuff at work. And when you set that expectation and hold them accountable, it makes it a little bit easier and you take control. It's one of those things that, and whatever we do in life, there's a slow process. And Richard kind of alluded to it a little bit. To get your quality of life and sanctity, sometimes you got to hold somebody accountable and make it a little bit easier so when you get off work. Because when I get off work, I don't like to go home thinking about who did what wrong or why they did it wrong and I'm carrying it with me. Because now they've invaded my peace of mind. And now I'm at home worried about, well, okay, is everybody going to get back? Did they hit the clock right? Are they going to do this? Are they going to? That's not my job. My job is to train, develop, mentor, set the expectations, and then it's up to you to do the rest after that. But what we just need to get to is the point of accountability, holding people accountable, and that same thing works with attendance. We'll have those employees in 15, 17, 18 unscheduled absences. I ain't got time. But the beauty of ERMS today is it's such a good process, but in the plant customer service, after so many unscheduled absences, the system tells you the person's got the pressure. It even sends you an email with it 3972. You used to have to, okay, let me remember to write this one down, let me document this one. Now the system does all that for you. All you got to do is click on it and print it and call the employee and deal with the employee. And the easiest way to get that is I tell my supervisor, you call in sick, it's a little work to get out the chair. I know that chair is comfortable. The computer is like that. It's like the battery and the magnet. You got to pull yourself away from it. You know, I tell my supervisor, boy, if that chair get any closer and tighter to you, you ain't gonna be able to breathe. You got to get up, go get the time card. You print the 3971, put it there. Why? The employee comes back to work, he has to sign. Well, I'm late because, hey, that's not my fault. You knew you was off yesterday. Come back early so you can sign and complete your 3971. That's your documentation. Now, after you get that, you say, hey, tell me what happened yesterday. You missed it. I'm looking for you. I needed you. It's good to have you back. But you know, hey, you're supposed to be regular in attendance. And now when I call an employee, the first thing I always ask them is what? I don't say, hey, you know, you missed another day, you got 3 or 4 on schedule, and I need you to take corrective action. First question I always ask my employee is, are you aware? Are you aware you're supposed to make MSP scans? Yep. Okay, I don't need to have a discussion now because you just told me you're aware. You aware you're supposed to be regular in attendance? Yeah. Well, we don't need to discuss you being regular in attendance because you just told me you're aware. So now when you exceed it, I need to deal with you. But most of the time we hear the union go back to what? Well, you didn't give them a discussion. You didn't talk to them. Oh, it says, is it a rule? Yes. Is it reasonable? Yes. Is the employee aware of the rule? Well, he said he's aware. I met Just Cause. He's aware. So we've gone right to the next step. And you help people, but the difference is I can tell you today, if everybody started here at Edmond and going to James, and we work away in Anthony, guess what? If I start writing everybody up and holding them accountable, before I get to the back of the room, everybody in the back knows the people up front what I got them for. And they're like, I'm not waiting till he gets to me. But it's just like anything else. You know, when I was a little kid, my grandmother used to come stay with me from San Francisco. And, you know, like most boys, you know, I was lazy and didn't want to do a lot of things. And I get up, I get ready to go to school, and she said, Craig, you need to make that bed. I said, okay, Grandma, I'm going to get it. Let me get ready. And I come back and eat my breakfast. And she said, Craig, you need to make that bed. I said, Grandma, I am. And I said, oh, the bus is coming. I got to go, Grandma. I got time. I get it when I come home from school. And then I come home from school. She said, Craig, you need to make that bed. I said, Grandma, I'm tired. I ain't got time to get ready to go to bed anyway. What I need to make the bed for? But after a while, Grandma said, no, you don't get to move till you make that bed. Once that line is crossed and the expectation is set, and the expectation is in the front, everybody in the back knows what Craig expects. So when I get over here, I don't even have to come see these people on this side of the room. Because everybody on this side knows, hey, Craig done wrote up. Because trust me, call in an employee today. You don't have to say nothing. Before they can get out of the office, what do you call you in for? And what does everybody say? Can you believe he gave me a letter of warning because I missed one MSP scheme? I can't believe it. Then they get back to the case. Man, they don't know I've been here 20 years. I missed one scan and now they want to write me up. But guess what? If every time somebody just begin to miss one scan, everybody over there knows, man, did you make it? They checking each other. Hey, did you make it? Hey, you better make sure you make that scan. That's where we got to get to and take the onus off of us. Just like we can relax and laugh at that, that's where the pressure should be. It should be on the employee. Hold up, man, if I make that scan, I better go back and make it again, because if I miss it, Craig's got me tomorrow. That's where we got to set that expectation. It's a little tough in the beginning, and I tell you, we can laugh and joke, but guess what? I still got to have you do the job. If you do the job, everything else going to take care of itself. But we have to just get to that point where that expectation, everything is attendance, MSP scanning, Avis, CPMS, check your sleepers, for your hot case. The expectation has to be that, hey, I need every piece, every day, everything done every day. Yes?
Craig, just a reminder, you know, and some of the misconceptions that they have is, you know, when you have an employee that has FMLA, even though that's a protected leave, the first thing the supervisor should tell them when they come back is what? You do know that we still want you to be regular in attendance. I understand this is nothing like protected absence, but we need you at work.
Correct.
And that'll lay the foundation, because see, everybody's under misconception. Oh, ERMS does this for me now. I have a special of 3. No, if he uses 480 hours of FMLA the first time he calls in, after his FMLA, what should you do?
We talked about that at dinner yesterday. You know, I tell people, if I got one and I know you got FMLA, every time they call in sick, it's FMLA. I'm giving it to you. But boy, when I see you come November or December, woo, that 480 is gone. You ain't got a bit of FMLA. But you got to hold the people accountable. But you can still set the expectation. FMLA may say you get 1 occurrence a month. Well, you took 4. You're not FMLA protected for the other 2 or 3. So you got to know what the FMLA protection is as well. So that's basically all I had today. Are there any questions, any concerns, anything that anybody needs as far as accountability or dealing with the 650 process? It's good to see everybody. I hate I have to leave, but, you know, duty calls on. Yes, Gary.
Richard made a comment this morning about that, and I have to agree with him about how sharp you always look. How do you look on each
He wears rabbit ears.
I don't know. You know how would I answer that is next question. No, I just throw something on.
Like you did this morning.
I will answer that for you. Don't ever let him go shoe shopping with your wife.
Jim blames me because we were in D.C. at the LTS. And his wife, Susan, and I, we all went shopping. And what, she about 12 pair of shoes? And Jim blames me. And I said, I was just there to assist. I didn't say buy this one, buy
But
that.
how many pairs did you buy?
I only brought 3 or 4. But when you catch a good sale, and most people think you go with the sale. It's not you go buy to buy, you buy when the sale is there. So I buy all season. I was telling somebody there, in the fall I buy. When fall ends, I buy when everything goes on sale. And when spring comes, and spring is over, I buy all the spring stuff. Because trust me, go to dealers when the summer vacation ends and those shorts that you all paid in March and April, $60, $70, $80 for, they $8, $10 in July and August. I wait till July and August and hey, they're still good next year.
So you must have your mom, right?
My mother, she's a tough act. Jim knows my mother. She's the tough act to follow. I don't even try to dress with my mother.
Hey,
Yes.
will you take me shopping?
I love shopping.
Oh, you have to ask Brian. He's the secretary of treasury.
I know it's not in your budget.
Yeah, push them. Well, thanks. Good seeing everybody. Larry's doing a great job. I tell people he makes it easier just to come because of the training and stuff. And this is good information, but understand as you're here as a delegate, it's your responsibility to take it back to the people who didn't get a chance to make. So many times in life we get something, you know, we hold on to it, you know, and you don't pass it, as James, you don't pass it, but when you pass it, it will come back to you in twofold. So take the opportunity, give it away, and let it come back to you, and you'll probably enjoy it better the second time around than you did the first time.